Everybody has to go through this particular period of punishment, ego dissolution, balancing, and many more such things. Why? Namaste everyone. What is going on? Today I'm going to share with you a book which anyone who's going through depressing times or depression should check out. And it's unfortunate for me that after years of depression and overcoming it, now I'm discovering this book. But nevertheless, I can't use it. I want to pass it on. This book is called The Greatness of Saturn, and it is updated in the Freeman Library, which is my personal list of book recommendations, and it's available for free download, so you can check that out along with other very less known but incredibly beautiful books which can just change your life. So why I want to talk about this particular book is because it has to do with another subject and another topic, which is astrology. And for a lot of people, things like astrology etc. are like not research backed or evidence based etc. But then you have just not opened your eyes at a deep enough level to actually comprehend what these ancient sciences are about. So if till now you have never paid attention to them or explored them, I welcome you to do that, because I believe that any particular tool, resource, subject, anything that can help you learn more about yourself, make use of that without judgment. So why do I say astrology? Because this deals with Saturn, which is a planet where even if you are somebody who never ever had depression in your life, it will bring depression in your life. Because there are 12 houses in the zodiac, and and Saturn spends 2.5 years in every house of each of the zodiac signs. But whenever it comes to the sign which is before the house in which your moon is placed, all right, so let's say if your moon is placed in Taurus and Aries precedes that house and then Gemini succeeds that house. So when completing these 2.5 years in each house is when it comes to Aries, that's when a period begins for that 2.5 years. Then in Taurus where your moon is, and then in Gemini 2.5 years, that's called 7.5 years Sade Sati. And I'm also exploring all of this, since I explored all of this once in 2014 and then once now since the last year 2021. Previously it was from a different perspective, now it is from a different perspective. It's just beautiful what this science of time and karmic cycles can teach us about ourselves. All right. So when I started studying about this, basically I realized that Saturn spares nobody, and everybody has to go through this particular period of punishment, ego dissolution, balancing, all right, and many more such things. Why? Both in Western theology, mythology, as well as Indian, Saturn or Shani is one of the most feared planets because it's considered one of the most powerful. Even though in terms of appearance, even though in terms of its qualities, it is the one you want to stay the most away from. But because you want to stay so away from it, that's why the force to attract is so much more, because you can't escape it. All right. And I'm talking about this simply because this is one way through which you can understand the depression in your life. This is one way through which you can understand the purpose of it in your life. This is one way through which you can understand who you are supposed to be via this particular time period which is happening in your life. I'm not saying that please believe in astrology and etc. I'm not saying that. I'm sharing this with you as a myth, as a story, because we learn the most through storytelling, and it is exceptionally beneficial because we cannot see things about ourselves very clearly. But if we can see it in an outside form, all right, and use our intellect, which we are so conditioned to use now, over our heart, over our spirit, any of those things, it just helps us grasp things better. So that's the only reason I'm sharing it. I'm not saying I'm a believer or not a believer, or you should be a believer or not a believer, bullshit, none of that stuff. So this particular book has a few different stories. It revolves around one central story, which is to do with the king Vikramaditya of Ujjain in India, which is a very holy place. And of a time when he used to rule, and how he was one of the most just and benevolent kings. Still, how adversity came to him and what it dragged him through, and then how he came out of it, and how he was blessed to go through that process and come out a better man. So, if you're somebody who's never ever had depression, or if you're somebody who's depressed, first of all, if you've never had depression, trust me, it will come to you at some point of time in your life. And I'm not saying this because of Saturn and astrology. I'm saying this because my work has gone through hundreds of thousands of people by now, and I'm a very keen observer of the human nature. So I know that it is unavoidable, and it's your best friend, so don't be scared of it. But on the other hand, when you are depressed, or when you are going through depressing times, everything around you for others looks like, wow man, their state of mind is normal, and and they're doing fine and stuff like that. So there is this sense of isolation which happens, and because of the sense of isolation, you go downward deeper into that spiral of depression. All right. And because I'm somebody who's spoken a lot on mental health before, shared my own history with you guys on YouTube, that's why I'm sharing this also, because I believe this particular book can be a great read, from which even portions you should literally screenshot which resonate with you a lot, so that when you're down in the dumps again, you should read all of that. Because it doesn't just deal with King Vikramaditya's story, but it also deals with a bunch of other examples. It deals with a bunch of other mythological stories, all right, which if you believe they're true, then they're true, and if you don't believe they're not true, then they're not true, because human faith and belief can empower or disempower things in your life. All right. So they share a lot of stories from the Vedic texts, as well as the Puranic texts of India, and they're lovely stories to come across. If you're interested in learning that how could the gods behave in incredibly horrendous manners, because even they fall, and Saturn does not even spare them. All right. And Saturn is just the name and just an identity which we've given it, but it's basically justice, and it's basically life lessons. All right. So in order to understand what your depression actually means for you, I recommend that you give this book a read, because it's a beautiful read, and surprisingly it's from a Western author, where it could have been from an Indian author, but it's from a Western author. So they have slightly their own take and interpretations. If you compare it with, if you go deeper, what the originality of everything is, but they have their own this thing. But still, nevertheless, it's a great book. And as I said, it's updated on the Freeman Library for free, along with other insanely lovely books. So check it out, because I definitely want you to give it a read and let me know if it helped you make sense of whatever you're going through. All right. So that's all I wanted to do, share this with you, and thank you. See you.